a colossal aerial assault on Stalin's city. German pilots flew 2,000 sorties, dropping 1,000 tons of bombs in 48 hours, even more than was dropped on London at the height of the Blitz. Incendiary bombs turned neighbourhoods of wooden houses into infernos. Even the modern brick buildings of the city centre were gutted by flame. The air was thick with smoke, and in every direction, the city was ablaze. Homes and factories burned uncontrollably through the night. Bombs hit fuel storage tanks on the riverbank, unleashing torrents of burning oil onto the water. A column of black smoke rose over 3.5 kilometers into the sky. The first few days of the bombardment, civilians were refused permission to evacuate the city. Their only chance of survival lay in finding shelter in basements and cellars. But for many it was hopeless. Over 25,000 Russians died in just 2 days.
There are planes flying day and night. My heart is bursting. I don't know what to do and what's going to happen to us. I have got nowhere to go to, and I don't want to die here. You say to me in each letter that we'll see each other soon. Your words make me glad, my dear, but it seems to me that we're unlikely ever to meet. I think we have already parted forever.
Stalingrad was all but destroyed. Its elegant avenues and grand buildings had been bombed to ruins. But the fight for Stalingrad was only just beginning. It was about to enter a new and even more deadly phase.
Hitler now ordered over 100,000 ground troops to seize Stalingrad and deliver him a rapid victory. The task was given to the men of the 6th Army. It was Hitler's most powerful and best equipped force. They'd stormed through Poland, France and the Ukraine and never known defeat. Their commander was General Friedrich Paulus. He was a fine strategic planner, but not an inspiring leader. Above all else, he was totally loyal to Hitler. As his armies swept towards Stalingrad, Paulus set up his headquarters in this small village, 30 miles to the west of the city. Paulus understood his task very clearly. Hitler wouldn't be content just with occupying Stalingrad. He wanted it annihilated. All Paulus had to decide was his line of attack. Paulus cast his eyes over maps on this very table. In front of him, Stalingrad sprawled for 30 miles along the west bank of the river Volga. It divided roughly into 3 areas. A factory zone in the north here, a civic centre here, and residential suburbs further south. The Germans, shown here in blue, had reached the Volga to the north and to the south of the city. The Soviet Red Army had been pushed back and were now isolated and outnumbered 2 to 1. With the river at their backs, the Soviets were now entirely dependent on supplies and reinforcements being ferried across the Volga from the east bank to the west. Stalingrad looked easy prey for Paulus. Paulus's plan for a ground assault targeted 2 key landmarks in the city. The central landing stage, where the Red Army unloaded their supplies, and this prominent hill, Mamayev Kurgan. It was the city's highest point. If Paulus could capture this, his guns would have the river and most of Stalingrad in their sights. You can see at a glance how vital this hill is. Commanding the city as it does, right the way along the Volga River, from the industrial area behind me down to the city centre right there. At dawn on the 14th of September, just 2 weeks after the Luftwaffe air raids, Paulus put his plan into action. The city shuddered from the ferocity of the onslaught. And with each passing hour, the Soviets were rapidly losing control. In little over 24 hours, German forces had stormed the southern part of the city. The main railway station was in their control, and the landing stage was surrounded and under heavy fire. Mamayev Kurgan, the city's highest point, was also under attack from the Germans.
The main Soviet force defending the city was the 62nd Army, but it had been battered by air raids and was having difficulty holding off the German attacks. Its men were outnumbered, exhausted, and dispirited.
But what they did have was a tough new commander. His name, General Vasily Chuikov. He was chosen for being a dogged and instinctive fighter with an almost unshakable nerve. But he knew his troops inside the city were on the verge of collapse. Chuikov's only hope of preventing the immediate fall of Stalingrad lay on the opposite bank of the River Volga.
Here on the east bank, there were 10,000 Soviet reinforcements preparing to enter the city. They were elite troops, but they were short of ammunition, and 1 in 10 of them didn't even have a rifle. Nevertheless, at 7 p.m., they received orders to cross. Heavy German artillery fire rained down on the boats crossing the river. The water soon filled with burning debris and floating human remains. As the troops neared the shore, the scale of the devastation would have become clear. They would even have been able to smell the stench of corpses rotting in the summer heat. But there was no chance of turning back.
Chuikov's reinforcements were thrown straight into the heart of the battle. Some stormed the shore and secured the landing stage. From there, they moved quickly through the streets in order to retake the main railway station. Others joined the battle for Mamayev Kurgan, where the fighting was increasingly ferocious.
Artillery fire had turned this whole hilltop into a moonscape of blackened craters. It was also deafeningly noisy. One Russian soldier compared it to having steel needles pushed through his eardrums into his brain. Bodies of the dead and wounded lay everywhere throughout the city.
We are often sent into battle armed with nothing but our bare hands. And this is happening not just to our division, but to others too. People, hungry and exhausted, launch into battle with bare hands. That's how we are fighting. Things are bad.